The conflict between Ukraine and Russia has reached a critical juncture. President Biden has authorized Ukraine to use US-supplied long-range missiles to strike targets within Russia. This decision marks a significant departure from previous US policy, which aimed to contain the conflict within Ukraine's borders. The decision, announced on November 17, 2024, has sent shockwaves across the international community, raising concerns about potential escalation and a widening of the conflict. At the heart of this policy shift lies the Army Tactical Missile System, or ATACMS, a formidable weapon with a range of up to 300 kilometers. These missiles, capable of being launched from HIMARS and M270 MLRS platforms already in Ukraine's arsenal, grant Ukraine an unprecedented reach into Russian territory. The move has been hailed by Ukrainian officials as a potential game-changer, offering a much-needed boost to their defensive capabilities. The decision to provide ATACMS underscores the Biden administration's evolving stance on the conflict. While initially cautious about providing weapons that could strike Russia directly, the US has gradually increased its military support for Ukraine. This latest move signals a willingness to take greater risks in confronting Russia, reflecting the growing assessment that the conflict poses a direct threat to international order. The potential impact of ATACMS on the battlefield cannot be overstated. These missiles will significantly enhance Ukraine's ability to target Russian military infrastructure, supply lines and command centers located far beyond the front lines. By disrupting Russia's logistical operations and degrading its ability to wage war, the US hopes to tilt the balance of power in Ukraine's favor and force Russia to reconsider its objectives. Ukraine has welcomed the decision to provide ATACMS, expressing gratitude for the continued support from the United States. President Zelensky, in a televised address, hailed the move as a significant step towards deterring Russian aggression and a testament to the unwavering commitment of Ukraine's allies. The Ukrainian military is eager to integrate these new capabilities into its operations, viewing them as a crucial tool in their ongoing counteroffensive. In stark contrast, Russia has vehemently condemned the US decision, accusing Washington of deliberately escalating the conflict and pushing the world closer to a wider war. Russian officials have warned of serious consequences and vowed to retaliate against what they perceive as a direct threat to their national security. The Kremlin views the provision of ATACMS as crossing a red line and has threatened to target not only the weapons systems themselves, but also any Ukrainian infrastructure involved in their operation. Beyond the immediate military implications, the decision has also sparked a war of words between the US and Russia. US officials, while acknowledging the risks involved, maintain that their support for Ukraine remains unwavering and that Russia bears sole responsibility for the conflict. They argue that providing Ukraine with the means to defend itself is essential for deterring further Russian aggression and forcing Moscow to engage in meaningful negotiations. The international community has reacted with a mix of apprehension and support. NATO allies, while largely supportive of Ukraine, have expressed concerns about the potential for escalation. European leaders, grappling with the economic and security implications of a protracted conflict, are urging both sides to exercise restraint and seek a diplomatic solution. The Biden administration's decision to provide ATACMS to Ukraine represents a significant escalation in US involvement in the conflict. It reflects a growing assessment within the White House that Russia's actions in Ukraine pose a direct challenge to the international order and that a more assertive response is required to deter further aggression. This shift in policy is driven by several factors, including the evolving situation on the ground, domestic political considerations, and broader geopolitical calculations. One of the primary drivers behind the decision is the belief that Russia must be held accountable for its actions in Ukraine. The Biden administration views the invasion as a blatant violation of international law and a threat to the principle of territorial integrity. By providing Ukraine with the means to defend itself, the US seeks to impose costs on Russia and deter similar aggression in the future. Domestically, the decision reflects the bipartisan consensus in Washington on the need to support Ukraine. Both Democrats and Republicans view Russia as an adversary and believe that a Ukrainian victory is essential for US interests. The Biden administration is also mindful of the upcoming presidential election and the potential political fallout from appearing weak on national security. From a geopolitical perspective, the decision can be seen as part of a broader effort to counter Russian influence in Eastern Europe. The US views the conflict in Ukraine as a proxy war with Russia, and believes that a Ukrainian victory would significantly weaken Moscow's standing in the region. By supporting Ukraine, the US aims to bolster NATO's eastern flank and deter further Russian aggression against its allies. The decision to provide ATACMS to Ukraine has been met with mixed reactions from the international community. While many countries, particularly in Europe, have expressed support for Ukraine's right to defend itself, there are concerns about the potential for escalation. Some analysts argue that the move could provoke a more aggressive response from Russia, potentially leading to a wider conflict. While the Biden administration has authorized the transfer of ATACMS to Ukraine, the operational details surrounding their deployment remain shrouded in secrecy. The exact number of missiles being provided, their delivery timelines, and the specific targets they will be used against have not been publicly disclosed. This secrecy is likely intended to maintain an element of surprise and avoid escalating tensions with Russia further. The integration of ATACMS into Ukraine's arsenal presents both opportunities and challenges. On the one hand, these long-range missiles will significantly enhance Ukraine's ability to strike high-value targets deep inside Russian territory. This could potentially disrupt Russia's logistics networks, degrade its command and control capabilities, and erode its ability to sustain its military operations. However, the use of ATACMS also carries inherent risks. Russia has repeatedly warned against the supply of long-range weapons to Ukraine, threatening to retaliate against any attacks on its territory. The deployment of ATACMS could therefore provoke a more aggressive response from Moscow, potentially leading to an escalation of the conflict. Moreover, the effectiveness of ATACMS will depend on a variety of factors, including Ukraine's ability to integrate them into its existing military doctrine, the availability of accurate targeting information, and the resilience of Russian air defenses. It remains to be seen how Russia will adapt its tactics and defenses in response to the deployment of these new weapons systems. The long-term implications of the decision to provide ATACMS to Ukraine are difficult to predict with certainty. The move represents a significant escalation in U.S. involvement in the conflict and could have far-reaching consequences for U.S.-Russia relations, the future of NATO, and the broader international order.